work, the former commissioner and the first, she understands what I'm saying, and that goes, of course, power and all, is that they do a lot of civic work. And we want to make sure they're doing civic work with us, and particularly our historically black colleges. Somebody wants to shout that out. And I've got a gentleman here, he's out of his cards, but maybe when Dr. Lane goes out the door, you'll run out to him and give you one of your cards, and be able to collaborate. He has, and I know that you are, somebody either, like in the church, raise your hand when you're about to have to go out. So, is that raising your hand? All right. But the gentleman has indicated something, and I came out of fossil fuel, oil and gas, in terms of my legal practice and the various things, but I came out and went in as an environmentalist. They're not inconsistent. And for some reason, we think that they're inconsistent. I don't understand that. They have to walk hand in hand. But this young man back here in the dashiki has indicated, Dr. Lane, that he is looking for building on the opportunity of major solar effort and technology to combine the HBCUs with the next generation of solar power and job creation. I wrote an amendment that was passed that indicated that we need to do very much to embrace and include HBCUs in the new technology, new generation of energy. So he may have a card and may want to say something to you. And I'm going to just let you stand in place for fear of when a president and a preacher gets in front of a microphone, Dr. Lane. So you can just wave. If you stand up and say a word, your voice is strong enough. This is new president, Dr. Austin Lane of Texas Southern University. We're excited about a state university in my congressional district. And why don't you say a word, please, Doctor? Say, come one, come all.
First of all, thank you, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. As you know, she is for us everything. And so I know here in Washington, she represents not only us back in Houston, but all of the Americans here at Texas Southern University. And we definitely want to be part of what's going on within. We want these partnerships to happen for the sake of our students. We know this is the future. If you've been to Houston lately, you know what I'm talking about. So I'd like to partner with anyone in this room that is going after that.
Thank you very much. Acknowledge the chairman of the board, another energetic civic leader, and that is Chairman Mitchell. Thank you so very much. And the development officer, vice president, Mr. Lawrence Snowden, also chairman of the Houston Housing Authority. That's a little Houston business, everyone, and I want to thank my fellow Houstonians that are in this room. Karen Franklin, thank you. I know the children will come. Let me, I've taken time, so let me be particularly pointed in the 50 pages that my staff gave me to produce for you. I will just do that intermittently, but I do want to speak directly about this brain trust. It is under my leadership now 21 years old. We have done a brain trust in the United States Congress at the Congressional Black Caucus for 21 years. We have done it before under Mickey Leland. And I think that we have been in the forefront, working in my private life as a member of the American Association of Blacks in Energy, having a lot of its leadership out of Houston. Doc Harris was very much an integral part of that. And the whole idea was to make sure that every measure of life we are in. And we try to be creative in the kinds of sessions that we've had. So we've had secretaries of energy come, leaders from around the world in terms of heads of state who have spoken at these energy brain trusts, as well as various leaders, the vice presidents, senior vice presidents, heads of operations, heads of upstream, downstream, nuclear representative, nuclear energy, solar energy, and we have found a way to match them. Jerome Ringo has worked with us over the years, a conservationist himself, or someone who's certainly interested and committed to technology, and we're delighted that we've been in an array of issues and areas. So today, we do speak broadly, opportunities and challenges in energy, STEM, women, trade, and other emerging matters. I have always desired, and my good friend from the Department of Energy, and we've had many uh, dry runs, is a unified energy policy that we can adapt to changing circumstances, that we cannot pit one energy source against another, that we can produce clean energy, that whatever the product is, we can find a way to be able to be responsive in our efforts. And my work in the legislative process dealing with energy has always been to develop an outreach to minority businesses. My amendments that have passed develop partnerships with historically black colleges, funding to be able to promote scientific research. Cybersecurity is not energy per se, but to ensure that the public-private sector gets to work together. So as we go through this afternoon, as long as I'm able to stay, I'll have moments where I may want to comment on some of the things that I think the federal government should and must be a partner. And the only way is for us to have sessions like this in the Congressional Black Caucus, sponsored by the annual legislative conference. I am now the vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, so it's almost like looking at a child. The legislative weekend has been the birth of the foundation, which generates opportunities for interns and fellows. So we want to hear from you. This is our major town hall meeting, and we want to hear from you on solutions. With that in mind, I am delighted that we have a well-informed keynote speaker today who I know has speaks from experience, but I'd like to think that I was a part of her ascending to her present position along with a number of other women members of the Congressional Black Caucus. And I know that Dot speaks from what she knows coming out of Pennsylvania and dealing with the public sector and energy. Now she is the Director of the Office of Economic Impact and Diversity, U.S. Department of Energy. All of you who are interested in business or solar or dealing with HBCUs should listen to her keenly, because she has a passion and a knowledge about the energy sector, but at the same time, she is well informed about the needs that we have in getting all of us related to this industry. Would you welcome to the podium Director of the Economic Impact and Diversity, U.S. Department of Energy, and I guess she wants me to say her full name, the Honorable Ladorius Harris. She is Doc to me.
Congressman Sheila Jackson Lee, and fighting and addressing the issues that are so relevant today, matter of fact, more relevant today than back then. So with that, let me first of all say on behalf of my Energy Secretary, Ernest Moniz, as well as my second level boss, who's President Barack Obama. So it's one of those interesting times for me with having served in this administration, having been nominated by the President and confirmed by the Senate in 2012. So I've been in this position for 4 years now, probably longer than I expected to be, because the government doesn't quite move as fast as the private sector. So wanted to achieve a number of things that I still have on my plate, and hopefully we can do. And we have 121 days left in the administration. So that's where we are. But clearly, and of course, this amazing panelists that you have here with this panel, there will be two panels that you get to hear from today, and just an esteemed panelists that you will have the pleasure of listening to. But first, let me say, President Obama stated, our nation derives strength from the diversity of its population and turns its commitment to equal opportunity for all. We are at our best when we draw on the talents of all parts of our society, and our greatest accomplishments are achieved when diverse perspectives are brought to bear to overcome to the greatest challenges. And it's all about diversity and inclusion and technology. It's interesting, we participated in the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, which preceded just the overlap between these two conferences on yesterday. So the issues that we have in our Hispanic communities as well as African American communities are very similar as we approach the growth that we're looking at for energy. But you know, guys, energy is an amazing time for development in this country. Already, we are the world's largest producer of both natural gas and oil in this country. That became the status in so we have reasons why, as we go forward in this country, to focus on energy and the importance of energy in this country. So when you look at the mission of the Department of Energy, it's interesting how you find a purpose in your life, and once you understand what that purpose is, you make sure that you listen and you obey what that is. And that's been an amazing interest and focus for me in particular in what we're doing at the Department of Energy. The Department of Energy is that science and technology powerhouse in the U.S. And most people have no idea. It's houses the world's largest lasers and 3 of the world's largest supercomputers. It has 34,000 scientists. In fact, 1,200 scientists concentrated at the Mars Livermore Laboratory, where one of our leaders here, Nicole, runs that interest for us at Mars Livermore. The largest concentration of PhDs in one location is actually in one of our laboratories, 1,200. And so it's that kind of level. So when Congresswoman Sheila Jackson-Lee talks about the importance of technology, technology will determine who will be the leaders in this world going forward. And I state often that we talked about the interview, there was a survey done with 50 top CEOs in the country. And they outlined the top 3 areas that they have to focus in order to be globally, number 1, number 2 globally, whatever their respective business is. And number 1 was technology, so we know technology has to happen. But guess what number 2 was? Diversity of women. Diversity of women, number 2. And number 3 is innovation. And clearly you can't get to innovation without diversity of women. So these are word about bottom line leading companies, and they decided, they had made it very obvious and it's known to their shareholders that they cannot be successful without diversity of women. And so when we look at the need of energy in this country and the focus that we have and the impact that this Department of Energy has, it plays a huge role. I mean, we have these 17 national labs that houses the state-of-the-art technology that will impact all of our lives. And it's important for us to make sure that we get to our underserved and underrepresented communities. So as we look at the president and the leaders of, for example, of 19 other countries, somehow looking at the need for R&D in the world, with investment probably 80% here in our energy R&D. That's where a lot of the R&D is happening globally. And if there's a $6.4 billion energy development around the country, and I'm very interested that the second panel will be focused on Africa, because do you realize that the $6 trillion of energy development globally, $3 trillion is in Africa? And that's one of the areas that we have to do. So it's even more relevant. In 2014, the president asked us to go and do an energy ministerial in Africa. I was able to accompany the secretary, and I was focusing on economic development of Africa, in-country capacity building, and the importance of the Africans to make sure that they're in-country development, making sure that we have a pipeline and helping their workforce development. And I was focusing very closely on the universities. Actually, took a number of HBCUs from the U.S. over to Africa. And that whole idea was to get that pipeline through the universities. And some of the leaders, I said, well, listen, quit sending your kids over to Europe. Send them over to our HBCUs in the U.S. And those are some of the areas that a lot of them are really working with. Our team in my office been working closely with the African University. I had the pleasure of being in South Africa a few months ago. Spent an entire day with the University of Johannesburg, Nelson Mandela's University, and a number of universities to focus on how we can collaborate here in the U.S. And one of the leaders asked me a question. He said, why hasn't the U.S. invest more in technology in Africa? They have the Chinese coming over, the Europeans. Why has the U.S. been absent when it comes to technology development for our schools and partners in Africa? And that's one area that I think going forward, past this administration, that we really want to focus on is our partnership back with Africa. Because I look at it this way, folks. I mean, let me just talk very clearly and plainly to you. We came over many hundreds of years ago and have come here as African Americans and have learned the technology and invest in leaders in law, engineering, and business development. So now is the time the African leaders are looking to us to partner with African American businesses, African American students, and taking that knowledge back to Africa. And they're asking that very specifically. I had over 10 different leaders point that out to me very specifically. They want to do business with African-American businessmen, and they want to do business, wanting to work with the HBCUs here in the U.S. So those are some of the key areas that we really want to focus on as we partner back with Africa. I wanted to mention one of the initiatives that the Secretary of Energy kicked off is called the Minorities in Energy Initiative, which really goes across 3 pillars. And really that came about because it really started when Congressman Rush had asked us when I just joined the administration and went over and gave him a briefing, and he started hearing rumblings about what was happening in our office as a result of the outreach that we had. And I was actually mentioned to me that, hey, I didn't realize your office existed. I've been in Congress for 20 years. So he was really impressed by the work that we've done. And I had his team accompany me to one of our national labs in New York, or our national labs. So he saw what we could do, the intelligence that we would bring to this whole space. So when Secretary Moniz was up for his Senate confirmation, he went before the Congress, and Congressman Rush asked him, what are you doing if you were to get into office to support minorities, minority communities, businesses, schools? What would you do if you became Secretary of Energy? And he said, I will give it my, make it a priority. Sure enough, 2 weeks in office, Secretary Moniz asked me to his office about what can we do to address our minority communities. And we focus on 3 areas. And those areas are STEM education and workforce development. The second area is economic development for minority businesses. And the third was climate change. And that is what we've heard from our folks, and that's what we've been working very clearly with all across this country. So those are the kinds of things that we have been doing. One area in particular that, matter of fact, I was just in your backyard, Congressman, actually met Dr. Lane. I visited his school, Texas Southern, along with the University of Houston. I had the Hispanic and African American schools there. We talked about the technology. There are a lot of market startup organizations that are coming out of these schools, and that's the kind of focus that we're really jumping in and making a difference. So one of the areas in particular that we're looking at with the energy development across this country, if you really think about it, folks, we've had a number of export terminals, import terminals. We've been importing oil. Now that we're the world's largest, now we want to turn those into export terminals and develop business. But a lot of the development for energy in this country are in backyards of folks that look like you. And that's where we want to make sure that we have the engagement of people. One of our MIE ambassadors, matter of fact, we have the honor of asking Congressman Sheila Jackson Lee to become one of our new honorary congressional MIE ambassadors. So we want to really thank her for accepting that. She'll be joining the ranks of Senator Murkowski. We're really excited. But so one of the things that this Minorities in Energy Initiative, one of the areas that we went into, Senator Landry was one of our past ambassadors, and she said, well, God, there's $84 billion of development that's happening in the state of Louisiana, in this little place called Lake Charles, which is 49% African American. And she said, well, I need you to come down on behalf of the administration and represent this community and see what you can do to make sure that these big companies like Sasol and Bechtel and all of the development, that there are people in the communities are engaged in this work. So for the past 2 years, we've been working closely with them, getting the schools involved, Dillard, Southern, all the HBCUs down there involved, and we did bring all of these companies to the table, and they did listen, and we did bring in the schools, everything, even K through 12 focus. So we've had a huge focus in that area. We will, of course, be debriefing the Congressman on some of the things that we've done across the country that could be duplicated. We have a model that we developed in Louisiana, and we'll take that across the country, because I can guarantee there will be energy development projects in every one of your neighborhoods, and it's important for us that we have people, all of the local folks involved. Because you know what? Who I was most concerned with is it was the brother that was sitting on the stoop watching all that money come in, and I wanted to make sure he got to participate. And that is the area that we want to focus on as we go forward. So listen, it's one of the things that Secretary Moniz, he made a comment that the science and engineering is important to people and judged based on the power of their ideas and not by the color of their skin or age or their gender. And that's what we really want to focus on here and continually focus on at the Department of Energy, because it's all about understanding that who we are is what we leave behind. And that's really the basis of all that we do. And that's one of the things that we want to leave behind in this administration, having established really practical things that we can do, things that are sustainable past this time of administration, and having that partnership between the private industry, such as Chevron. I see one of our MIE ambassadors, Mr. Al Williams from Chevron, is here in the audience, and he's one of those private sector partners we have, to the educational partners that we have, and government. And between those three entities, we can address and we can really pinpoint and really make a change for the industry. Because I consider this is a time of the quiet storm, people. And let me tell you what this quiet storm is, and some of you heard of this, I mentioned it before. It's happening, there are three legs of a stool that's happening in this country that has never ever happened in our lifetime. First of all, the demographics are changing so much. We will, by the year 2045, minorities will be the majority of this country. Already minority kids are the majority. So you got that demographic shift of people. Secondly, the aging population of the energy sector. Most of the folks in our energy sectors are retiring, probably 55% of retirement, probably the next 5-8 years. And the third leg is just the energy development opportunities, so the booming of energy development in this country. So when you have those three things coming together like never before, the question becomes, are we prepared? Do we have a pipeline of students? Do we have a pipeline of businesses that are minority businesses that are in a position to support? And unfortunately, we are not prepared. So that quiet storm is on its way, but I think with the focus of brain trust sessions such as this, and the focus on all the folks in this room, we can get ourselves positioned, because we are the United States of America, so we always figure out how to address problems when they do arise. So in closing, I just want you guys to know that over the next 120 days, we will sprint through that finish line and do what we can to continue to impact what we're doing and making sure things are positioned going forward. Because when it comes to when it really boils down to, it's about thinking about our kids and our communities to make a difference. Because when you look at why we're here, why I was brought here, it's more of a divine intervention is where I look at most things. And it is not by coincidence, or it's not by mistake that you're in this room and you're sitting next to the person that's sitting next to you. So let's make a difference and let's keep this legacy going. Thank you.
I will turn this over to the moderators, but I get the privilege of at least acknowledging the panelists. But can you not tell that Dot is having fun? And I will be having fun too if I'm making the changes in people's lives that she is doing. So give her another big hand. Dolores Harris and her partnership with the Department of Energy and Secretary Muniz. We thank you so very much, and I'm honored to be an ambassador, but really an ambassador for good. Thank you so very, very much. I have to acknowledge two of my constituents, as they say, the big H in Houston, Gerald Womack, development officer and leader in real estate and great contributor to TSU. Gerald, see you there. Entrepreneur Linda Brown, CEO Advantage, thanks to see you. I don't see Ms. Hebron, but we know we acknowledge her as well. Let me indicate that we're going to have two great panelists, moderators rather, and I want to acknowledge David Forster have been with us before, Senior Advisor, Office of the Secretary, U.S. Department of Energy, and he is no stranger to us, and he will engage the panelists and the audience about the opportunities that abound globally and locally in energy and public and private sectors. Give him a hand. David, raise your hand. Thank you very much. Our next moderator dispels all myths about whether or not there's any friendship between many of us and the Chamber of Commerce. Yes, there is. Business is an opportunity for all Americans. It has no shades and colors, and we're delighted that Scott, who is the president of the U.S. Africa Business Center and vice president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, always reaches out. He will be focusing on the concrete examples of what industry is doing in creating opportunities here at home and across the globe. And I was shocked that he's still sitting in his seat, because when somebody said $3 trillion, I thought he'd already taken a plane to Africa. But he's still sitting here, he's probably going to leave this afternoon. There he is. Scott, raise your hand, please, with a nice applause. Thank you so very much. Who is, let's see. And of course, a dear friend, Commissioner Colette D. They typed this wrong. Colette, what's your last name? Oh, they typed it right. Somebody's shouting for her. Her name is Commissioner Colette D. Honorable. Please forgive me. Of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, I just call her Commissioner, so. And past president of the National Association of Regulatory Utility Commissioners, the first person of color to serve in this role in the 125-year history, first African-American woman to serve in the Arkansas Public Service Commission. Give her a big hand. Very knowledgeable, making great history. And I think I called someone down at the end. I think I called them Scott. That's not accurate. Andrew Herkowitz, are you on the panel? Are you in the room? There you are. He's coming up soon, the coordinator of the President Obama's Power Africa initiative. He has done an outstanding job bringing together technical and legal experts. He was the, how should I say it, the visionary behind the president's vision of his Power Africa trip to Africa, Kenya and Ethiopia, to a wonderful dynamic visit, and he is an expert in the public and private partnerships, building on the nearly $43 billion in commitments that the U.S. government has leveraged from over 120 public and private sectors. The Power Africa Roadmap is a dynamic roadmap. Thank you so much. Why don't you just stand up? You'll be introduced later. Then my good friend Peter Barrett, Senior Vice President of Regional Workforce Development of Greater Houston Partnership. Right there. I'm sorry that I called you. Eyeglasses are not on. But in any event, I know that you'd leave for $3 trillion as well. But Peter is here from Houston. Peter is here from Houston, and the Greater Houston Partnership, Chairman Jamie Roots of the Texans, and Bob Harvey is the president. They are serious about workforce development. They are serious, and let me be kind enough to say thank you for the great work you've done, and we look forward to hearing from you. And don't go back home and say that I called you the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Vice President. And I also want to welcome Jamal Watkins, AFL-CIO. There he is, and they have been great partners, and the whole union community is one that we should give great respect, because they are about jobs, but they're about technology and energy, and they are prepared to be engaged in the 21st century. Thank you so very much. Give him a hand. Thomas Graham, former Vice President of People Strategy and Human Resources. Are you? There you are. Okay.
I'll go for $1 trillion.
All right. Let's work him out, but I got to make sure you stay here till after you speak. But we got a flight for you as soon as you're over. You can get together with him, all right? That is Pepco Holdings, and they are a huge, very impactful utility service with over 2 million customers. They are our servicer here in the Washington, D.C. general area. Mr. Graham has managed the enterprise's human capital portfolio and also serves as the chair of the board of the Center for Energy Workshop and the Maryland Chamber of Commerce. We're delighted to have him here. He has experience. Give him a very big hand. And the Akan Lighting Africa team. Am I looking at that right here? Akan Africa team. That is award-winning musician and artist Akan Theon Samba. They are on the way. On the way. Give them a very big hand. You're going to be excited about them. We're excited about Africa, as we are about all these other opportunities. Just to give you something about the Africa group, their work, because of their work, schoolgirls and boys now have reliable electricity to do their homework, small and local businesses. And I do want to say that when I travel with the president and your great work, stand up because I'm too short to see you, that the various technologies that I was seeing that people were taking back to their villages was really powerful. I know you're going to share some more with us, but there's great work going on all around. Thank you so very much. Fabiola, did I get all of the presenters, or did I leave someone off on this table here? No, I did not. No, he's coming up later. Let me get him later, but let me introduce him, but I need to talk about him. Jerome Ringo has been the president of a major conservation group here in the United States, but he has not ceased his work of looking for opportunities to mesh the environment with energy. He is Louisiana native or driven, and he is always putting together good people to give opportunities to many others. This is Jerome Ringo. Would you please stand, please? I'll do more later on. And so, David, I'd like you to take over here. You're going to be right there. And I would ask that we are at 3 minutes, please. And I knew there was someone here. I keep looking at him, standing right here in the corner. Stand up, sir. Yes. Do you play something? Yeah. He's trying to be discreet because he's here for business. So just stand up and introduce yourself. We're looking at the breadth of diversity, that energy is not something to be frightened about. So just tell us who you are, please, sir.
I'm David West, play with the Golden State Warriors now, member of the ZOEC Global Energy Team.
Give him a big hand. There are young people here that need to hear that. All right? So we're excited about it. Thank you so very much. David, you got it. Thank you again for repeating your presence here with us today.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Congresswoman Lee. It's terrific to be invited back to your brain trust. Secretary Moniz, I would like you to know, really draws his commitment to workforce and energy issues by the drive that you and the Congressional Black Caucus have shown to these issues. And it's his commitment that I think sustains us at the Department of Energy in doing this work. I also want to give my own shout out to my old colleague Jerome Ringo. We were partners on many a project to fight for access to clean energy jobs and the high quality of those jobs for many, many years together. And lastly, my colleague at the Department of Energy, Natasha Campbell, with whom I'm carrying on those same fights today, Natasha. So we're living through a global energy revolution, and the epicenter is right here in the United States. The needs of our energy sector are large, dynamic, and influenced by disruptive technologies. Consequently, our challenges are great, but the opportunities are even greater. Let me cite just one example. Hydraulic fracturing and horizontal drilling in the oil and gas industries have dramatically changed the availability of domestically produced oil and gas. As Dot Harris referenced earlier, in less than a decade, the U.S. became the largest producer of oil and gas internationally again. Our LNG import terminal construction stopped, but export terminal construction began. Coal stopped being the largest fuel source for producing electricity this year and was displaced by natural gas. As a result, some of our nuclear plants have been destabilized by these changing economics. But oil and gas are also international commodities influenced by global prices, and those prices have taken a sharp downward turn in the last 2 years. Between 2009 and 2014, the oil and gas industries added over 160,000 jobs in the United States, but in the last 2 years, they've lost 155,000 of those, providing both challenges but long-term opportunities. These similar stories of both opportunity and challenge could be told throughout the coal, renewable energy, and energy efficiency sectors. So our discussion today is really how do we keep our eye on the prize of America's energy revolution. So today we have a very distinguished panel to lead us in a discussion of what we've called the emerging issues in the energy sector, with a special emphasis on how STEM education, opportunities for women, and issues over international trade are all affecting and being affected by the revolution in energy. Congresswoman Lee has already introduced our panelists, Commissioner Colette Honorable, Vice President Tom Graham, Senior Vice President Peter Beard, and National Outreach Director Jamal Watkins. So before we start throwing it open to specific questions from both myself and from all of you, let me ask each of our panelists to make a few opening observations. Commissioner Honorable, let's start with you.
Thank you, David, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So yes, my name is an interesting one. My title and my last name are both honorable, and I am honorable, as Harry Reid said during my confirmation on the Senate floor. So it's really, Congresswoman Jackson Lee, it's an honor to join you again for your energy brain trust. As you can see in this room, this is the place to be. So lest you are confused, next year, this will be the place to be, and the year after that, and the year after that, because the Congresswoman brings the very best in the sector from all areas of expertise. So it's a delight to be back here. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is an independent commission. The commissioners, there are 5 of them, we are appointed by the President and confirmed by the Senate, and we serve a term. And this work is important, and I really want to focus on not only the millennials and the young people in the room, but those who are young at heart and thinking about maybe a career change and what you want to do in your next life. We at FERC oversee the reliability of the electric grid. What does that mean? We broadly make sure that the lights come on unless there's a severe weather event or an act of God or an attack on the grid. The Congresswoman referenced a cyber security incident that may occur. Our job is very broad. I tell young people that our positions are quasi-judicial. Each and every day, we are voting on energy cases. And these cases don't concern hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. Every day, I'm signing my name, figuratively, I authorize my team to cast my vote, on orders that affect millions and billions of dollars. So the stakes are very high, and our work is very complex. This work is very exciting. As David mentioned, it's an incredible time to be in the energy sector. Dot, who's a dear friend, and we labor together in this work, really teed up nicely the landscape today. It's hot, pun intended. Energy is hot. It's the place to be. You can pick up the newspaper each and every day and see something about energy all over the world. And as both Dot and David mentioned, not only are we now, not only on the cusp, we're in the midst of impacting global gas markets and leading and driving them, but in the U.S., we are also leading internationally with regard to clean energy integration. So no matter what your interests, we've heard Jerome's name mentioned a few times and his work on the environmental side in particular, no matter what your interests are, if you're concerned about nuclear, if you're concerned about infrastructure, transmission lines and pipelines, we at FERC oversee that as well. So you heard them speaking about the liquefied natural gas terminals. We at FERC approve those. We approve hydropower plant certificates. We also hear applications, yes, even pipelines, because we do not get to pass judgment on which sources are good or not good. Our goal is to protect all of them. The reason I'm speaking to the young people very quickly is because less than 10 years ago, I did not work in energy. Less than 10 years ago, I was an attorney and a chief of staff for the Attorney General in Arkansas. And I want to say that to the young people because as quickly as this field is changing so dynamically, you too can become involved and lead. As the Congresswoman mentioned, I led a national association for the first time in our association's history, being a woman and person of color, leading this association, but also engaging with key personnel on very complex energy issues, engaging with the Congressional Black Caucus, engaging and co-hosting a meeting in the Roosevelt Room of the White House. This is my life, and I'm living it in full color. And it's amazing. It's amazing because there are tremendous opportunities for women, for people of color, for young people. If you're interested in science, as virtually any career you're interested in, you can do it in energy. You can make a great living, and as a mother of a 15-year-old, these jobs impact generational wealth. So we'll talk about that more in a moment. I want to close with 3 important things. In a very brief period of time, I've gotten a call from the White House, and I said yes to work and to move to DC and do this job. It's been an incredible opportunity, as Dot has said, to work for this president and in this administration, but also to have the opportunity to engage with people all over the world. Young people, I've been literally all over the world. I've stood on stages all over the world. And I've been a student and disciplined about learning this craft. And you can do it too. And I hope that you see that in us today, because as the old saying goes, you can't be what you can't see. So see us today and see men and women who look like you and who come from varied walks of life. I'm from a little state called Arkansas, and I'm very proud of my southern drawl, and I take it with me wherever I go in this world. So with regard to the opportunities in the energy sector, I'll close by saying this. Number one, silence is not golden. We need to do a better job of getting out, as the Congresswoman truly has been a pioneer in this field, particularly in the oil and gas sector, but more broadly in energy. Number two, we must practice what we preach. When I was chair of the Arkansas Commission, I started an internship program for HBCUs to expose them. No one ever came to talk to me about the importance of working in the energy sector, what lawyers could do in the energy sector, what engineers could do, what mathematicians could do. And finally, I would say there's a wealth of opportunity to engage, as we will hear on the next panel, with our colleagues and dear friends in Africa. It's been a tremendous opportunity to work with our colleagues and regulators in Tanzania, in Ghana, and other places to help them strengthen their work, build their infrastructure, and help them put together the framework to be successful in this space. I will yield there. I will talk more later about other opportunities for women and people of color in this sector, but I hope most of all that you're encouraged and that you're curious and your curiosity is piqued about working in this incredible field. I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Let's turn now to Thomas Graham from EPCO for a few opening comments.
See, that's why I wanted to go first. So it's exciting for me to be here with one of my best friends, Colette, and the 2017 NBA champions.
Indeed.
Right. So my role now is, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about my industry to kind of provide the foundation. So 32 years ago, I was a professional athlete, and I stumbled into the energy industry. June 16th, I went to a career